The Michelin Porsche GT3 Cup Challenge cars on the circuit, ready for race number 2. Richard Crowell this morning. Well, it felt like grand final day, but that's still another round and 2 races away. Aaron Love will start from pole position for this race.
It's definitely prelim final weekend. Aaron Love, great performance, a brilliant race win, the 3rd of his season. Harry Jones still leads the championship now by 110 points. Christian Pancioni goes from 3rd. Ryan Sewell, he fought so hard for that, ended up 4th. Max Vidot and Tom Taplin next. Bolton, Danny Studdert, who makes his first start of the season, goes from 8th. Sam Sheehan from 9th. Tagway Pro-Am and Matt Belford rounding out the top 10.
A good recovery for Shaheen today as well to get inside that top 10. Ollie Shannon will start out of position number 11. That's the car that Cameron Creek drove for majority of this season. Ross McGregor starts out at 12. Michael Hovey in the Trifford Bar and Venue entry starts out at 13. Jonathan Glixton starts out of position number 14. There was a lot of damage to that car at the end of race number 1 earlier today. David Grieg, Rob Woods, Andrew Goldie are at the repaired Woodford Trailers entry. Back to Nathan Murray and Williams starting off the back. He had a wild moment, didn't he, coming across the backside of the circuit in those changeable conditions earlier today.
So there'll be a couple of storylines to follow in this Matt Nolte. One of them will be the performance of Max Vidot, who had that drama down at Dandenong Road. The spin, the recovery to 5th place. But he needs to get his head down in this and continue to charge. He was 8 points behind Aaron Love for 2nd and 3rd in the championship coming into this morning's race. It's now 32 points. It's a much bigger margin in the battle for the minors. Meanwhile, out in front, Harry Jones just continuing his consistency, still yet to finish a race outside the top 3 this season. Consistency wins your championships, Matt. If you can't win races, you finish 2nd. That's exactly what this young Queenslander's doing. The flying young man from WA, he's only 17 years of age, Aaron Love. His brother Jordan's the Michelin Junior champion in Porsche Carrera Cup this year. Little bro is doing the business in Michelin GT3 Cup Challenge.
Getting set for a start here. 13 laps and race number 2. A couple of cars missing from their starting positions for this race. Who will win the charge down to turn number 1? Ryan Sewell had that moment at the end of the race earlier today. The white number 7. Here we go. 2nd race of the weekend for Porsche GT3 Cup Challenge is underway here at Sandown, and some cars really struggling to get away here.
It was a really long, hard, and a lot of drivers sitting crashing on an 8,500 RPM rev limit for a long time. Ryan Sewell, brilliant start from the 2nd row, goes around the outside of them all. Christian Pancioni, Aaron loves the meat and the sandwich. Jones is off the road, the championship leader. Around in the background goes David Gregg and Andrew Goldie. Dramas all through the field, but Ryan Sewell, what a start. Launched the right McElroy Racing Porsche into the lead. Vidot cops a hit for his efforts. He's in the fence. Tom Taplin into the rear of the Bob Jane T-Mart's car. And this day goes from bad to worse for the young South Aussie. And somehow Christian Pancioni finds himself in front. What a sequence of events that was.
You could feel that coming from the start line. Too much heat into turn number 1. Cars went everywhere. It scattered up the top 5 drivers. There's Vidot trying to come back to the field. And another spinner now in the background of the shot. That's Studdard in the LB Living entry.
Well, big tick to the new runoff area up there at turn 6. Works a treat. Captured that car. If it was 12 months ago, it would have been parked in the tyres. Danny Studdard gets away with one at a high-speed lose at over 200 k's an hour. So, Christian Pancioni looking for a maiden Porsche Michelin GT3 Cup Challenge win. Local boy from Roeville, lots of friends and family here this weekend. Ryan Sewell is 2nd. Aaron Love, the pole sitter, race 1 winner from 3rd. And I think that start caught them all out, Matt. They were held for a long time. You could hear the cars crashing into the rev limiter. So I think some people battled with clutch pressure, clutches overheating as they were getting ready to launch. Let's take another look.
Here it is again. So a couple of cars down the field struggle to get away, but it's all about the run into turn number 1. They were 4 wide heading down there in the beginning, right against the Armco barrier left-hand side. Ryan Sewell from 4th to the front, but came in way too hot. 3 into 1 never goes. Someone had to give, and everybody taking the wide line, contacted the back of the field, but there was more to come down here at 3 on the Actron Air replay.
Yeah, 2 great friends and rivals, Andrew Goldie and David Gregg, turning each other around down at turn 1. This further around at turn 4, a bump from Tommy Taplin. I reckon he'll get looked at for that from race control. They won't like that. Opening lap, cold tyres. It's hard sometimes, but he basically fed the Bob Jane car off the road, so they'll reflect on that. And it continued up the hill. This is still the replay, folks, of the opening lap as Sewell went to the outside of the race leader and ultimately Pancioni held on. So out of all of that, Max Vidot back in 10th place, and this was Danny Studdert. That's as wild an opening lap as they come. There's been a few of them this year, Porsche Michelin GT3 Cup Challenge.
Has rejoined the field back in 17th position. Back to live shots now. Lap 3 of 13 as somehow we settle down into a groove in this race. You're watching Tom Taplin. Taplin Real Estate, number 26. He runs in 4th position. The margin less than a second between Pancioni and Ryan Sewell, who spun himself out of a top 3 result earlier today. And at number 7, the white number 7, run in between he and Aaron Love, who runs in 3rd position and on target for the fastest lap of the race. Lap 3 of 13 here at Sandown.
Really impressive performance so far for the young teenager, high school student, Christian Pancioni for VCM Performance. Ash Seawood Motorsport run the car. He's been in great form lately. He's finished the last 4 races inside the top 3, 3rd or 2nd. Good drive this morning. Consistent performance in tricky conditions to 3rd. Great start. Went down the inside, well below the yellow line. Generally not out of bounds on the start of a race here at Sandown. And he now leads the race, but he's under serious pressure. Sewell and Love close behind. And Harry Jones has got himself up to 4th. The championship leader. Do you know, I got a feeling that he just bailed at turn 1. He saw what was going on with that field condensing and Aaron Love in his passenger door and went, do you know, I've got championship leader. I'm just going to use all of the escape road and live to fight another day.
Probably was smart driving as well. As we look at the field coming through, there's Max Vidot, who's down in 9th position. How it's changed so far in this race, but plenty to play out. Lap 4 of 13. The leaders heading down the back straight towards turn number 6 now. The margin, half a second as they tuck in behind each other. Love runs back in 3rd. They've put about 2.5 seconds on Harry Jones, who scored pole position here yesterday, but finished 2nd in race number 1 earlier this morning.
Garth Walden watching on from Garth Walden Racing. Ollie Shannon, his first round in Porsche Michelin GT3 Cup Challenge for GWR Australia, currently running in 8th place. Really impressive job for the young man who's stepped up out of the Aussie Racing Car Series. Got the headlines at the Bend a couple of weeks ago for a rather large 5, which he was very fortunate to walk away from. He's a terrific young man, another bright young talent in Australian motor racing, and he's currently in 8th. So this is a leading group. Ryan Sewell looks down the inside. Open wheel graduate. Came from a long way back. Does he get it stopped? No, he doesn't. Runs it wide. Off the road. Aaron Love will look to capitalise here as well. Pancioni holds on. The race 1 winner gets himself back to 2nd.
So he's on the charge. That red and yellow SRG entry is now 2nd. And Ryan Sewell has used the outside of the turn 1 corner on 2 occasions in this race so far. Through the little kink on the back straight we go. And they continue to pull away from Harry Jones. Here's the replay. Sewell down the inside. Classic Sandown here. Here's the switchback. Runs out of racetrack. Uses the bitumen hard stand on the outside and will drop back into 3rd position.
And it's a get-out-of-jail-free card down there with that big concrete apron or the bitumen apron that's been laid on the outside so they can rejoin without going off the road around that exit curb. So you can afford to make that error now and still maintain some momentum, but quite correctly, if you run wide at turn 1, you should probably be penalised for it, and he lost a spot, so it cost him momentum. Aaron Love got through. This racing, though, it's been extraordinary all season long, and we talk it up every round, not thinking that we could eclipse what we've already seen, but it keeps delivering.
Yeah, it does.
Another young star out in front.
Taplin in the pits. So Taplin has come into the pits. He drops out of 5th spot, and now Sam Shaheen moves up. He's the leading Pro-Am driver in 5th position. So the South Australian, the man behind the Bend Motorsport Park, where this series will wrap up in November as part of the Shannons Nationals, is now inside the top 5. He just gets better and better with every race, and it comes down to his qualifying.
Just going to check the pit stop time for Tommy Taplin. I got a sneaking suspicion, 26 seconds. That's transit time at Sandown from pit entry to pit exit. I'm going to put my money on the line and say that was a drive-through penalty for that contact with Max Vidot at turn 4 on the opening lap.
So now Vidot goes into 6th position while the screen resets itself. So Love behind the back of Pancioni. That's Ryan Sewell, and just behind is Harry Jones starting to engage into a 4-car battle. Lap 6 of 13 approaching the half-race distance mark. In race 2, the Porsche GT3 Cup Challenge here at Sandown today. Still plenty of racing to come up before the end of the day. The Kumho Super 3 Series later on this afternoon, race number 2 that was shortened earlier today with the very wet weather that we had. Hard to believe this place was underwater just a little over 3 hours ago. And confirmation from race control that was the drive-through for Tommy Taplin. He comes out in 13th position.
Well, if you don't like the weather, wait 5 minutes.
Yes.
And right now, the track temperature up to 25 degrees. Thanks to our friends at Michelin for that update. It's absolutely stunning here now. The race earlier on today, the track temperature was 17 degrees, so there's a huge difference, and that's going to affect the way these cars perform over a race distance. So they would have taken a bit of a shot at where they pressure the tyres. The hotter the track, the quicker the pressure comes up, and that will affect the car over a distance. Here goes Aaron Love, this for the lead. That's huge.
Wow.
Pancioni wide and off the road at turn 6. The new runoff earning its money this weekend. I think he's destroyed the front splitter on that car. So he's going to battle for understeer now. It'll lack front downforce. The car will not want to turn in. It'll want to push across the corner. He's defending stoutly, but it may be a bit of a forlorn cause, and Harry Jones will ultimately get the VCM performance car. That was big from Aaron Love. A lot of commitment there.
It's like a slingshot, wasn't it, down to turn number 6? And in the end, the car went off the track, and now he falls back into the hands of Harry Jones, who pulls out. Pancioni on the defensive into turn number 1. He'll make him go around the outside. Will he be able to pull this car up? Great move around the outside. He'll have the better line here for turn 2. Good job by Harry Jones.
Yeah, brilliant racing. Pancioni would have been compromised for mid-corner speed because he's torn that front splitter off the car, so it wouldn't have been good through the mid-corner. Harry's car would have been faster, but you've still got to have the commitment to go round the outside on the dirty side of the road. Great bit of racing. He's back into 3rd. The podium streak will continue.
Say about the weather, just wait 5 minutes.
Yeah, well,
want to stay in 3rd place, wait 5 laps.
Exactly. That's this series. So let's unpick all of that. There's the move. Great toe. And again, it's not the first time we've seen it today in this category that Pancioni just didn't look like getting the car turned in at all. Went straight ahead across the runoff road. And then this move from Harry Jones, really good bit of racing. And compliments to Christian Pancioni there because he gave him room. There was racing room on the outside. Didn't squeeze him off the road. He fought as much as he could, but in the end it was fair motorsport. So well done to the pair of them. Harry Jones finds himself 3rd. And in 3 laps, Christian Pancioni goes from leading to off the podium.
And Ryan Saul starting to close in on Aaron Love once again. Margin 0.7 of a second. Fastest lap 1 minute 10.325 set on lap 6 by Harry Jones. So look a bit further back in the field. Michael Hovey and Ross McGregor, 9th and 10th on the circuit. 5 laps to go as we go back to pit lane with Emma.
As Michael Henry just strips his jacket off, getting a bit warmer. At least the sun's out. Aaron Love doing a fantastic job. But how are you coaching Max through what's been a pretty tough day?
Yeah, he has had a hard day. You can see he's just gone quickest at the moment, so he's doing a really good job. Obviously got turned around, not his fault, but sometimes that focuses you pretty well. So he's doing a good job, and we'll just push on to the end, really.
Best of luck.
Thanks.
And Mike Henry down in the pits there. As we look at Ross McGregor, Michael Hovey, the Triffid Bar and Venue. Do love this livery of this car.
Yeah,
does look cool.
Bit of a nod to classic Porsches, isn't it? The great prototypes and 935s of the day at the Le Mans 24 Hour. Back to Aaron Love. Ross McGregor, by the way, congratulations. Bit of a milestone. This is his 34th Porsche Michelin GT3 Cup Challenge round. Now the most of any driver in the history of this category, which dates back to 2008.
That's cool.
And somewhere, the drivers that he's eclipsed, namely John Goodacre and John Morris, are plotting a comeback to try and get their record back, I'm sure. He's a great character of the sport, Ross McGregor, having a really good weekend, up into 9th place and currently 3rd in the Pro-Am class. So really well done for Roscoe. He doesn't live too far from Sandown.
All about the bench racing. The stats will always tell it. I
100%.
need to be at the top of that list, especially for John Morris. He's done this for a long, long time, hasn't he?
The old cheap stations get exponentially larger. I think the longer you race in it, Matt.
The station's as big as this grandstand now.
And it's a pretty big grandstand. Pretty full today as well, it must be said. Max Verdoe's just punched out the fastest lap of the race. So you heard from Michael Henry, an engineer at Sonic Motor Racing, about that performance. Unfortunate from him, that contact from Tom Taplin. So he's got good pace, but he's 6 seconds down the road from Christian Pancioni, though he will reel him in, and at the moment he's a second a lap faster. But once again, we've got a battle for the race lead. Aaron Love finds himself in front. Ryan Sewell, who won at Phillip Island earlier this year, so Victorian circuits work well for the graduate from the Australian Formula 4 Championship, open wheel ace. Terrific young guy. McElroy Racing rate him very highly, as they do Harry Jones, who's his teammate and just in behind. And breeding the future talent for Porsche Pace Carrera Cup Australia. We've seen the graduates for the last couple of years come up through this series into the main game, as it were. And great news recently, Matt. I touched on it at the start, that Jordan Love won the Michelin Junior Driver Selection. He'll go to Europe representing Porsche Motorsport in Australia in the Porsche Shootout. If he wins that, he gets to drive in the Mobil 1 Super Cup next year. That's the pathway Matt Campbell took. It's the pathway that Jackson Evans took. And they're making professional careers now as Porsche drivers, which is terrific stuff. And it's a proven ladder system that works for young drivers.
It's shown by the names he just reeled off right now. They're doing great stuff overseas. Since the final set of turns, we come the leaders separated by half a second. Harry Jones is about 2 seconds away from the group of cars. There he is, Pancioni, with damage to the front of that car after his excursion at turn number 6, runs in 4th. Then it's Fedot coming through, starting to right the wrongs of what happened at turn 3 on the first lap. Sam Shaheen is still leading the Pro-Am class in 6th position. Ollie Shannon inside the top 10 on debut. Then it's Bolton and Hovey with Ross McGregor in 10th.
It's all right, I get choked up about this as well, Matt. It's great racing. 2 to go. Fedot with the fastest lap. It has, hasn't it? As we go back to a bit of a Class B battle. This is Nathan Murray. And he's got Andrew Goldie just behind. The leaders coming through. And that is Aaron Love in the bright yellow and orange SRG Global car. Coco's Restaurant, famous place in Perth. That's been owned by the Love family for some time. And I'm sure Mum's watching Nikki back home in Perth. Jordan probably as well. Down the inside, Dandenong Road, gets through the lap traffic. Nicely negotiated by the race leader, showing the maturity of a 25-year-old when he's only 17. But he's got a lap and a bit to hold off an attack from the McElroy racer and Ryan Saul, who's throwing everything he can at. He hasn't won since May this year. He'd love another victory. What can he do? 3.1 kilometres to go. Another Michelin GT3 Cup Challenge thriller comes down to the final lap.
And he won't want to do what he did in that race earlier today, Ryan Saul. He's in the box seat here right now. It'll be down at turn number 9 if he's going to make the move. This is the final lap. They're 2.5 seconds ahead of Harry Jones. Pancioni 4th. How much has this race changed since the lights went out some 20 minutes ago?
Call it now, does he go?
I don't think he will this time, after what happened earlier today.
Well, he's got a very good run out of turn 4. He's right in the toe of Aaron Love. So there may well be a move here. Love covering his line, just positions the car perfectly on the turning point to turn 6. But it'll push him a little bit wide. Lap car in front. Blue flags flying for David Gregg in the Dakin car. That might have been the opportunity for Ryan Saul. And that may be the race for Aaron Love. What a brilliant performance. What a great motor race this has been.
Final turn. It's been another great one in Porsche Michelin GT3 Cup Challenge here today at Sandown. And the West Aussie makes it 2 from 2. Aaron Love picks it up for Sonic Motor Racing Services. Ryan Saul will be second. Harry Jones and Christian Pancioni. And this guy, the comeback from the bottom of the top 10 for Max Fedot, will finish in 5th position at the checkered flag. Sam Shaheen coming around to collect the Pro-Am honours in car number 13, another strong result. And Ollie Shannon, another top 10 result on debut. Nicely done.
Yeah, really impressive, Matt. Well said. Really good drive, Sam Shaheen. Very quiet, all the warring going on at the front of the field. That was an impressive performance. So Sam wins the Pro-Am class. Brett Bolton, second in class. He's second in that championship. Michael Hovey, third. Ross McGregor, his 34th GT3 Cup Challenge round. Over 100 race starts to his credit, rounding out the top 10. In race number 2 of the Porsche Michelin GT3 Cup Challenge. They're back tomorrow morning, Matt Nolte. We decided championship, the Jim Richards Endurance Trophy. It's one of the most sought-after awards in Porsche Motorsport in Australia. That gets decided tomorrow. 3 drivers are in contention for that. So a 45-minute race first thing tomorrow, just to set the tone for what should be a really good day.
It's going to be massive, no doubt about that. We'll take a look at the highlights of race 2, Porsche Michelin GT3 Cup. As the lights went out, they sat on the start line for a long, long time here. Several cars struggled to get away. By the time we got to turn 1, it was 4 wide at the front of the field here. Some drivers right up against that Armco.
So pick the leaders. So Harry Jones briefly led the race, then Ryan Saul into turn 1. Christian Pancioni out of turn 4. Terrific drive. This was controversial and a drive-through penalty to the Taplin real estate car of young Tom Taplin. The 2 South Aussie boys, bit of friendly fire there. That's unacceptable for those from the Festival State. And then this, the fight for the lead. And Ryan Saul throwing all the pressure on. Aaron Love back at the pack at the moment. And he would come through to win. Danny Studdert was off the road in that new runoff area.
This was Taplin trying to come back through the field after serving a drive-through penalty aboard car number 26. This is Ryan Saul going around the outside of the curve, but dropping back into third position around the mid-race distance mark.
Yeah, and this was why, with that big moment under brakes, he had to go, he had to have a go. And full points to having a crack at getting the race lead away, couldn't ultimately do it. And then once they got past Christian Pancioni, young Aaron Love went on the defence, covered his racing line well, and took his second straight win. He leads the points going into the finale, takes a few more out of the championship leader Harry Jones going into the Jim Richards Enduro Trophy decider tomorrow morning. Another Porsche Michelin GT3 Cup Challenge Classic.
And 4 races remain in this year's series as the cars head back into the pits. We're heading to a break, but as we do, Greg Rust recently had a look at ANCAP's safety testing and procedures with CEO James Goodwin.